She's good.
Okay. All right. Yeah, go ahead. Let's fire it up.
There we go.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. My name is Greg Merwin. I'm the Associate Superintendent of Education Sports Services. And with me, Cuco, you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Refugio Gracian. I go by Cuco. I am the Executive Director of College Proficiency, Access, Equity, and Social Emotional Learning. Pleasure to be here.
And Cuco and I are here this evening to share with you a preview of CUSD Cares. We're also joined by Miss Alicia Cabrera, who is doing the interpretation in Spanish for families that need that assistance. So thank you, Alicia, for being here as well. And so we are going to jump right in and share with you, again, what is CUSD Cares? And as it says on this first screen, this concept of a system of support with multiple tiers to support the well-being of students primarily, but also staff. So just a few things before we get started. I'm going to bring up the next slide here. We are going to ask you to please share your questions or your feedback or both with both me and Mr. Gracian this evening. We want to hear from you, from our community, from our families and our community members regarding the questions you have, and then also suggestions and feedback that you have regarding this well-being plan. It is a value of our board that we have heard the values and the interests of the community prior to bringing a project like this to the board. And so what we're doing tonight, and what we did actually Monday of this week as well, is connecting with all of you, sharing about this proposed plan, and then this plan would be going to the board for their consideration on May 17th. So your questions, your feedback are greatly appreciated and important to the process. So you have two different ways that you can share your questions with us this evening, and we will do our best to answer them as they come in this evening while you're with us. As it says on the slide, you can use the Q&A, which is activated for tonight's meeting anytime during the session. Use the Q&A, put your question in there, and we, Mr. Gracian and I, will take turns answering the questions. Please make sure that the questions that you ask pertain to this well-being plan. So if you have other questions about different projects or curriculum or other topics that are not related, you are welcome to email me directly, and I can answer those questions for you at another time. So my email address is gjmerwin@capousd.org. Let me put that into the chat. So gjmerwin@capousd.org. Okay, so feel free to send me an email if it's a question that is not related to our topic tonight. So you have the Q&A you can use. You can also then use this survey form. So Mr. Gracian put that in the chat for you. There is a link to the survey that is in there, and he just dropped it in again. You are welcome to use that survey to put in your questions and your feedback. What do you want us to know? What do you like? What do you have questions about? What concerns do you have? So please feel free to use both the Q&A and also the survey form that Mr. Gracian has provided in the chat. And what we will do then is we will do our best to answer your questions this evening. But we will also be we will be assembling an FAQ, a frequently asked question document, from all the questions that you have posted this evening, and also the questions from Monday evening's meeting. And then we will post this FAQ on our MTSS website. And if you're wondering, how in the world do I find that? Where is that? Well, go to our district website, go to the top search bar at the top corner of the website and type in MTSS. And then that'll take you right to the website, and then you'll see a link to the FAQ, as well as links to the recordings from tonight's session, as well as Monday night's session. So again, we want to make sure people are aware of this proposed plan that will be going to the board on May 17th. And we also want to make sure that your questions are answered, as well as that we hear directly from you regarding your feedback. Okay, so that pretty much gets us ready to jump into the content. And what we will be doing is I will be sharing with you the why. Why are we doing this? What's the purpose of this work? As well as how it fits into our current work as a district, how we support students. And then Mr. Gracian will get into the details of what does this look like on the school campuses? What are the new programs, services, resources, and then what are the ones that are currently in place that we will be much more intentional with? And he will get into those details in the second part of the meeting. So Mr. Gracia and I will spend the first parts talking to all of you and sharing the information, and then we will definitely have plenty of time at the end to answer any questions in the Q&A. So please feel free to do that, and we will get started right now. So here we go. So what is the purpose of CUSD Cares? CUSD Cares is about supporting all students and staff in their well-being. And ultimately, this is for positive impact on our student outcomes. And by student outcomes, we mean student achievement, learning, development, behavioral development, etc. So those outcomes of students, there will be a positive impact on that by focusing on 3 separate foundational pieces or areas, if you will. First one, connections, the idea of connections. The second one, a sense of community. And the third, opportunities for celebration. So supporting students and staff's well-being will have that positive impact on students by developing these 3 concepts. So here's a little bit more about what each one of those, what those mean. Connection. The concept of connection is that students feel connected to their peers and to the adults on the campus. And that's through meaningful daily interactions, daily activities. Students and staff are connecting with each other. So that's this concept of connection. The second concept is about this sense of an inclusive school community where we want a sense of safety and belonging for our students and our staff, our parents, through regular events, programs, and organizations. So that we have that strong sense of we are a school community and we all belong. Okay, so that's the second foundational piece of CUSD Cares. And then the final part is on celebration, that we highlight the uniqueness of students and staff regularly, ongoing, acknowledging their contributions and achievements, and making sure that this really touches upon all our students and our staff. So again, connection, community, and celebration. These are those 3 key concepts that the CUSD Cares plan is built upon to really expand and develop in these 3 areas. So that's the why. And here's a graphic that again kind of captures those concepts that we just shared. Again, this idea of connection, this idea of a sense of community, and then celebrating. And then you have, of course, first and foremost, our students, but then meeting the needs of our staff and our families in their well-being. And you can kind of see this different kind of visual demonstration of that here. Very important that we pause to say, well, how does this fit with what we are currently doing as a district? CUSD Cares is not a brand new standalone program. It is not the newest, latest fad that then is just added to all the other things going on in the district. This is part of the system that we currently have and strengthens that system. So the system, and many of you have probably heard before the concept of MTSS. And this graphic describes what MTSS is. multi-tiered system of support. So that means several layers or tiers of support for students in our district in the areas of well-being, teaching and learning, and in behavior. So you've no doubt heard us talk about this. This has been something that we have been developing since 2017. This concept of all students get support in the first tier of programs and resources and services. Then some students need additional support, and that's called tier 2. So in addition to this universal level of support, we have targeted interventions that then meet the needs of those students because they just need some additional help. And then that third tier, tier 3, is for those few students that need very intensive support, individualized support, comprehensive planning and support. This is a concept we have been sharing with the community since 2017. And we have spent a significant amount of time over the last several years on the academic part of this system, on the behavior part of the system, and now it's about the well-being section of this system of support. So CUSD Cares is inside of the current system that we have been developing, again, for going on 6 years. So it's not something brand new or different. It is now more carefully and thoughtfully designing and developing this area of well-being. And the final piece I want to make sure that I share, and I don't forget to talk about, at the bottom of the pyramid, you'll see the base of this pyramid is professional learning communities. And that's when groups of teachers come together, they look at, they review student data, and that drives how they support their students. That universal support for kids, the targeted support for kids, and the intensive support for kids. Thank you. And then professional learning communities are really the foundation of it, because that means that teachers are coming together, working together, collaborating, using data to determine what do we need to provide to students. The same is true in teaching and learning and academics, in student well-being and positive behavior. So this is the base of all that we do for a reason. Our teachers come together in these professional learning communities using data to drive their decision-making on what support to provide our students. And our principals come together in professional learning communities and do the exact same thing. Each school supporting each other to learn from each other and use best practices. So again, just a little bit, a reminder of what this system is the multi-tiered system of support, and CUSD Cares is this red triangle. It's this part of the system that we are talking about this evening. So very important for everyone to understand the context of this proposed plan. And if you're just joining us, thank you again for being here with us tonight. I did want to mention that this is being recorded so that if you missed any portion of this webinar, you'll be able to access it on our website. We'll talk about it at the very end. And you'll also have a frequently asked questions document, as well as a survey that's been placed in the chat that you can ask questions and provide feedback. So if you're just joining us, welcome. Thank you for being here. And we appreciate you taking your time to join us. So I've shared a little bit about the why. Why are we doing this, this project called CUSD Cares? And then we've talked about how it is embedded in the system of support that we have been building out over the past many years. So now, again, to kind of explain just a little bit more about those tiers, this idea of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Well, what does that mean? And again, if you're just joining us, don't worry, we're going to get into the details next. So I'm just kind of setting the stage for Mr. Gracian to hit the home run with all the really interesting information and resources that you're going to see. But important we kind of understand how it all fits. And as you see on this graphic, again, the concept of tier 1, right? Here's the tier 1 of the pyramid. Here's the tier 2. Here's the tier 3. Tier 1 means all students benefit from it. Tier 2 is some students need more support to be successful. and tier 3 recognizes a few students need intensive interventions to be successful. Okay, so that's what this is, just looking at it a little differently. Tier 1, all students. Tier 2, some students. And tier 3, a few students. And all of these tiers of support, these levels of support, we understand that this is all connected, and that in the end, it's all about student well-being. So all of this kind of comes together and focuses in on the concept of student well-being. But we understand, as it shows in this graphic, the connectivity and the connections and the importance of this partnership from the classroom to the school, our families, our caregivers, and the community, that we all kind of come together and rally around this support plan to meet those well-being needs of students. Okay, so that's a little bit about the why, and then how it fits into the work that we are doing to just deepen and strengthen the work and the support that we provide to our students. And so with that, now we're going to shift into, well, what do tier 1, 2, and 3 actually look like on a school campus, right? That's what you came here to see. You want to know, what does this mean? What will this look like? And so Mr. Gracian is going to now go through tier 1, 2, and 3. And please remember, put your questions in the Q&A or use the survey link that we have provided. Okay, Mr. Gracian, take it away.
Dr. Merwin, thank you very much for the intro. Everybody on the community Zoom, it is an honor to be here representing Capistrano Unified School District. Again, for those that came in a little bit after we began the Zoom, the community Zoom, my name is Refugio Gracian. I go by Cuco. I am the Executive Director of Culture Proficiency, Access, Equity, and Social Emotional Learning. So Dr. Merwin did a phenomenal job as usual, explaining our MTSS, PBIS, PLC foundation of our pyramid, our different supports. Here you have what we call the first tier, the awe, right? For what every single student gets as they enter a campus in CUSD. So in this aspect, you'll notice that the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bullet points, 6 bullet points are in bold. It's not because they're more important than any of the following bullet points, but what happened was, and some of you might have participated in this, in the fall, we did a survey that included our PTSA leads, our classified and certificated employees, our administrative group, or most importantly, our students, to get their authentic voice about what they felt we as a district provided as far as mental health and what was important for that aspect of well-being for students and for staff. And based on that, we're integrating that as part of our CUSD Cares. The other aspect that we want to highlight is, it's not that we're reinventing any of this, like Dr. Merwin alluded to. These are aspects that we have been doing for a long time in schools, but we're being, and the keyword you heard me say probably more than once, I'll sound like a broken record, is we're being intentional about it. We're going to be purposeful about it and very meaningful in our approach to carry this out as a school in a district. So the one thing I want to begin to highlight is the first bullet point where it says daily classroom mindfulness moments. So we're currently piloting a program called mindfulness. It's not yoga, it's not anything else other than grounding students in the moment and staff. Imagine if you're a teacher, a secondary teacher, for example, and you have 6 classes, and you begin every single class period with a moment where you are at one with yourself, you're calm, you're grounded, and your students are as well. Imagine how that helps you to be the best teacher you can be, and for the students to be able to be in the moment to do anything that is related to enhancing their learning. So we're currently piloting that program at 3 schools with roughly 20 teachers combined between the 3 schools. At the high school level, that is at San Clemente High School. At the middle school level, that's Marco Forster. And at the elementary, that is Clarence Lobo. So I will share this, some of the immediate feedbacks. The day of the training, we actually had a site administrator that was part of the training that stated that because they have a stressful home life and they feel stressed out as far as their principal role. And they've had 3 moments where they have felt at ease in the previous 4 years. Twice was in a summer vacation and once was after completing that mindfulness training. The same concept and feedback we got the following day from our assistant principal who was part of that training. They went back to their school and their MTSS specialist or teacher gave the training to the staff, and hands went up everywhere and says, why haven't we been doing this for years now. This is amazing how we're able to focus and ground ourselves. So know that based on that feedback and additional feedback that we'll gather in a couple of weeks now, Dr. Merwin, it seems like we just began this. We're going to use that information to then take to our trustees for them to consider this aspect of CUSD Cares. The other thing that's very worthy of highlighting is what we're calling a well-being check-in. If you look at school examples, the third bullet point down, we're calling it tentatively Well-Being Wednesday. So imagine this other aspect where as a classroom teacher, as a site counselor, as a site administrator, you gather this data as students every Wednesday are able to use through emojis, they're able to report to us how they're feeling, whether they're doing good, whether they're happy, whether they're sad, and an opportunity for them to communicate outside of that in a text box where they're able to share with us. I would really like to talk to an adult now. To be able to get to those students and as a principal, be able to see the trend on your activities, your initiatives, your kindness activities, your guest speakers that you bring in and see how that's affecting the well-being of your students. As a teacher with your lessons and your homework load to see how that's affecting the well-being of our students. So instead of waiting for us to be able to treat the students in the tier 3, which you'll see how we want to make sure we avoid as many students as we can to get there, imagine if you're able to respond to them in the tier 1 moment, how much more effective we will be and how we can partner with our community and our parents to be able to make sure that we continue to support and foster that aspect of our well-being. You know, we are a data-driven district and we are firm believers in responding to that data. Another thing to highlight is middle school intramural sports. We're firm believers also that the connectedness piece, hopefully you're going to see a trend about student connectedness in this tier. We're really trying to make sure that our students are involved in extracurriculars, VAPA, which stands for Visual Arts and Performing Arts, in clubs, and in any other aspect that makes the school a sense of community, as Dr. Merwin spoke about earlier in the presentation. So that is something that we are developing, something that we are fully in understanding that our students need. And we're trying to be purposeful and intentional about it, as we mentioned earlier. We've also partnered with the Wellness and Prevention Center in Orange County Department of Education to make sure that our middle school, we really saw the need at middle school coming back from the post 2020 pandemic, that our students there and our staff really need to have the what we're calling the toolkit to be able to identify certain red flags that students might be depicting to respond to their well-being needs. So we train all our classified employees in the current school year, and we will be training the certificated staff for the teachers for the middle school in the upcoming school years. And then we'll also look to see how we can influence that in the elementary and in the high school setting. So again, supporting the staff, supporting the students, making that connection. We have different campaigns, be a friend and you belong here campaign, to recognizing that we're seeing the data that is not unique to Capo. This is a nationwide incident regarding chronic absenteeism. Absenteeism like we haven't seen before. There's a different perspective from both student and parent as to what it means to be absent and how work can be done. We're really trying to help parents and students understand we want you here. You need to be here. The best instruction, as we saw, was the in-person instruction, not so much this setting that we have here. And then once you see these other bullet points, again, I'm reiterating that this is not something that's new. It's something that we've had, but we captured it to make sure that we highlight. One example that I want to be able to show is the 5-star system. Many of you might not know what that is. In a secondary setting, through our PBIS approach, our cultural DNA embedded connectedness approach, the 5-star system allows us to recognize how we are celebrating students through recognitions, through awards, through them participating in extracurriculars. And this is data that will also show the impact of our CUSD Care program. So you're seeing all these different aspects that we offer, our counseling, our second step in our culture proficiency lessons. The school examples are examples that we're encouraging our principals to do. We'll be setting examples for them to do. Here's where we're very excited. Every single summer, the site principals, the site assistant principals, and the district office leadership meet in what we call the administrative advance, where we meet together to get our year started. We are going to line up our families, our school families, so from like the Tesoro family, the San Clemente family, the Aliso family, and we're going to have those leaders be at their same table and speaking about what is it that you do at the site that's best practice for student connectedness. And they are going to make this personalized to their own, for their own families, school families. And then principals don't have to reinvent the wheel. They'll see what other individuals are doing So students know that if they're going to one feeder elementary school, they're getting a very similar experience than as if they're going to another. And then the secondary schools can build on that. And we're going to communicate this with transparency to our families and to everybody that's involved in this process. So we are very excited about that. Anything you want to add, Dr. Merwin, before we move on to the tier 2 aspect of this?
Excellent job, Kuko. And for those, I believe a couple people have joined us recently. We want to, again, thank you all for being here. Please know that you have two different ways that you can ask questions. One is using the Q&A that is activated for this webinar. The other is to use the link that Mr. Gracian has put in the chat. So either way, you can send us your questions, and then also any feedback you have, things you're liking, things you want us to be aware of, et cetera. And again, we mentioned at the beginning, please just respond. You know, we're looking for questions specific to CUSD Cares and well-being. If it's not related to one of those topics, please feel free to email me directly, and I've already put my email in the chat for you. All right, so Mr. Gracian, I think we're ready for tier 2.
Yes.
Here we go.
So thank you, Dr. Merwin. So the tier 2 aspect is for the sum. So really the goal is here, if we notice that some of our students through the Wednesday wellness check-in that we suggested, through our referral process to our counselors, through our knowing and what we call knowing our students by name, face, and especially story, we find out that there's another support that's needed. That is our tier 2 approach. Some of you, if you follow us on social media, or if you're part of the Niguel Hills Middle School family, know that we opened up a wellness room at Niguel Hills. And it is a calming space, something that I've referred to very much as a advertisement for Pinterest, a place where everybody wants to be at. And the reason for that is we understand that if a student is coming to meet with a counselor, for example, and they're in the four walls of a counseling room that looks very much like an office, they might not be as open as it might be in other scenarios to share. Well, what is the core of what's causing them not to feel like they're being connected? What is happening? Well, these wellness rooms are a space where our counselors can have individual or group counseling for these students and make sure that we're responding to the needs of those students. We're trying to secure a funding source so we can open them up in the remaining 12 middle schools. That includes the K-8 schools in our campus. And we've also had some independent funding for San Juan Hillside School. So we really see the importance in this. We've also had the equivalent to that called sensory rooms for the elementary site. Now, every single school in the Capistrano Unified has been Tier 1 PBIS trained. For those of you that don't know what PBIS is, it's a cultural aspect of how to build connectedness to students at the site. It's a way to understand that through connection, you're able to build the trust of students, and therefore they will be more willing to be fully immersed in their learning. So every single site being trained in that aspect, the part of being trained in Tier 1 is that you assign staff mentors in this level 2. So for example, if Dr. Merwin was a student at my school and I'm the principal, and we find out that he comes to level 2 through our check-ins, and I know that young Dr. Merwin here is a baseball player, I can go to his coach and say, hey, listen, are you aware of this from Dr. Merwin here? Oh, I wasn't aware. Well, can I assign you as his mentor for that? Absolutely. Or if he's connected to a science teacher, that could be the person. I've shared in the past with the community that one of the most popular people that my students want to connect to was the librarian or our head custodian. They really wanted to make sure that they were seen by them because of the connection they have with their students. Now, as we mentioned before, the top 3 categories came from the feedback that we received from the surveys and from the focus groups that we had with our classified and certificated employees, our administrators, our PTSA site leads, and most important, our students. You know, this is completely what we call authentic voice and feedback, just like this community Zoom is here as we gather these questions and we answer them for you. When you see the items that are not bolded, it's not that they're less important. It's something that we recognize that we have been doing. Targeted counseling with our students through our counselors and our intervention specialists. We have 6 family leads that work with the Tesoro families, the Dana families, San Clemente families, et cetera, that respond to the different needs of our students. And this is where our counselors and those leads partner to be able to, what we call peel the onion and go a little bit deeper to find out how we can truly support our students. Our restorative practice, recognizing that if we suspend the student in every scenario, that's not going to get to the root of the behavior. We want to make sure that we're able to show students that through reflection and recognition and through using their words, they're able to work out their differences and not have to resort to other measures. Yeah, excuse me, we have our partnership with the Wellness and Prevention Center at a lot of our sites, and we're trying to expand that influence and that partnership with them. And again, we have our examples of what it is that we'll be doing here with the daily check-ins with the mentor that we alluded to. The intentional, you're hearing this word yet again, group discussions with our counselors. Those wellness rooms are a key role into being able to serve the needs of our students. And family, I'm reading the word family here. Finally, you'll notice that we have that final aspect under school examples where it's about student, family, and school collaboration. We recognize it's almost like it's its own triangle. Whatever you're doing at home to respond to those needs of your student because of however they're feeling with their well-being, their academic aspect, we want to make sure that we are also working with you to support that at the school and vice versa. We want to be able to share with you what we're doing at the school so you can support us at the home. So we're working in unison instead of against each other. And then again, as previously mentioned, when we meet this summer with the different families, as far as Tesoro, as far as Dana, as far as Aliso, they will be able to make this their own and personalize this and show how it is that they're responding in those aspects. How does it look like at Tesoro High School when you work with the student, the family, and the school together? Give those examples, and those will be shared with the community so you know what to expect even before your student, if they're transferring from another school or going from 8th grade to high school, they'll know what to expect. Anything else you want to highlight from targeted tier 2, Dr. Merwin?
Great job, Mr. Gracian. Let's move on to tier 3.
Okay. So this is the aspect where, for lack of a better analogy, we're throwing the kitchen sink. Okay? We're all in. We're bringing everything there, from our scheduled intentional one-on-one counseling sessions to our district support, our counselors, our psychologists, our high school family lead administrators, district staff. We're making sure that we're using our resources through the county and the outside mental health referrals with the parent consent, of course. We work with the families at that point if you're going to be outsourced, because we want to make sure that your insurance covers it. And if you don't have insurance, that we're able to still support you with the resources that are offered through those partnerships. Some school examples that you see is the more intentional frequent visits from both the counselor, the mentor, the administrator. One thing that we're really wanting our sites to understand is we need to, if you can't come to us, we need to be able to go to you. If for whatever reason the family is not able to come to us, we are a community. We should be able to drive for a mile or two how far you're from the school, knock on the door and say, hey, here's Joe's work, here's Maria's work. How can we help? We're here to support. We are talking about the then ongoing individual counseling supports. And if you see the last bullet point, this has now become student, family, site, and recognizing that the site has limitations. We're also including the district office, our crisis team, our support, myself, Dr. Merwin, anybody that you see in that district website that oversees different aspects of the school. We're all in to help the student to make sure that they go from this tier 1, this tier 3, back to the tier 1, and so on and so forth. Anything you want to add to this one, Dr. Merwin?
No, I think that's a great overview, Mr. Gracian, by the 3 tiers. Let me bring us back, because I'm thinking about some of the questions because now we're basically, that's the information we wanted to share tonight. We're now available. We'll be watching the Q&A if you have any questions you want to ask. We'll also be looking at the surveys later to answer your questions through the FAQ document. But let me just share a couple of things that came up in the meeting Monday night, and we can clarify a few things for you. So going back to tier 1, both the classroom mindfulness moments and the weekly well-being check-ins, if the board approves the CUSD Cares plan on May the 17th, then these will be piloted in the district. So in other words, right now there's a very small pilot, meaning it's being tried out. It's like a test run to see how it works. In the mindfulness moments, as Mr. Gracian said, at 3 different schools. We would do something similar for the check-ins as well. We would pilot this at a series of schools and learn from how do we support students with this well-being check-in? How many students needs support? What kind of resources does a school need to be able to be responsive to students in these check-ins? So we would pilot these next year, meaning we try them out at a series of schools. Parents would be notified ahead of time. And then parents, of course, would if a parent had questions or concerns, they'd be able to talk to their principal or to Mr. Gracian or me or someone at the district. And then if you still did not want your students participating, you will absolutely have the right to opt them out. Okay, so just please know that that is our commitment with any type. When we bring in new programs and new resources like this, we want to do a test run on it, learn from it at a series of schools, make sure that it's very well supported and from us and from the site, and then we would go ahead and expand it and go across the district for every school site. So while we would start small with a pilot at a series of schools for both of these, the mindfulness moments and the well-being check-in, if they are successful, and we think they will be, we would then expand out district-wide so that every school, every student would benefit from both of those. So just want you to kind of be aware of how that looks. And if you're at a school where pending board approval, if these are piloted, then you would be notified and you'd have a chance to learn more about it before the pilot began. Also, the middle school intramural sports and activities, as Mr. Gracian said, this is something we're very, very excited about. We would work closely, pending board approval. We'd work closely with our middle school principals. We know that this is going on in a couple of school sites off and on, but we want to really make it a district-wide exciting program. And we also want then our high schools to be able to connect to our middle schools so that our seniors and our juniors, before they move on from their high school careers, can go back and give back to their middle schools and support these programs after school. So we see a lot of great benefits to how this can connect our students with each other, our students with their staff, and then even from school to school. So incredible opportunities for enhancing connectedness and school community on so many different levels. So just wanted you to be aware of a couple of those things. And as we, coming back to this point, Mr. Gracian explained to you all of the different programs, resources, services that would make up the all, and then the ones that make up that tier 2, which is that's for some of our students. And then that final slide was on the tier 3, as he said, the kitchen sink. Those are the intensive interventions that we then bring everything that we have to meet the individual needs of that student. So that is what we have for tonight. So we are away. We will give us a few minutes to see if any questions come into the Q&A. And we will then be looking at the survey link that you have in chat. Please feel free to send us questions or any feedback you have via that survey link. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning, we will then develop an FAQ. We already have the questions from Monday night's meeting, where we had many parents and community members join us. And then we'll include yours tonight. Any questions that you have, those will go in this frequently asked question document, which will then be posted on the MTSS website. And again, if you don't know how to find that on our district website, just go to the search bar, type in MTSS. It'll take you right to the link to the FAQ, as well as a recording from tonight's session and Monday night's session. So, Mr. Gracian, any other final thoughts? Yeah.
I just reposted again the survey link, and just again, rest assured that whatever you put on there, I personally answered every question, so it will be answered as you post it there. Like I said in the previous meeting, I'm humbled to be able to be entrusted with this work. I want to make sure that myself, I represent the district and the needs of all your students. They are the reason that we do what we do. So this is an amazing opportunity, and Dr. Merwin and I have been working at the hip. It looks like Dr. Merwin for months now, over a year now in this. We're very proud of this work and the potential that this could bring for community, for connectedness and celebration at the school site. Very excited about this work.
I am too, as well, Mr. Gracian. This is, we're incredibly invested and committed, and I see this as a Capo parent as well. I have 2 kids in the district. I have a high schooler and a middle schooler, soon to be a 9th grade. So I'll have 2
Ooh.
high schoolers next year in the district. So please know that when we look at these plans and the system of support, we're seeing it both as educators and as educational leaders, but also as parents. So we recognize the value of this for families, for students, and for staff. The only other thing I would make sure I want to mention too is this concept of staff well-being. Touched on it briefly at the beginning, and that is, of course, first and foremost, it's about meeting the needs of our students. But we recognize that you must take care of the well-being of your staff, that they are the ones that are directly meeting the needs of students. And very similar, we've both Kuko and I have been talking to different experts in this field for about a year now. And one of them shared with us and said, look, in order to meet the needs of students' well-being, you also have to meet the needs of the staff well-being. The same way that when the oxygen masks come down in a plane due to turbulence, you have to put your mask on first before you can put the mask on the person next to you that needs assistance. And so that's why our staff, their needs also need to be met. Their well-being needs to be supported so that they can do that work for our students. So I just want to make sure that we reemphasize that as we close tonight. So with that, everyone, then we're going to go ahead and wrap up this evening's webinar. Again, you have the survey link, which has been put in there several times by Mr. Gracian, so there's no way you can miss that one. Feel free to send us a survey with your questions and your feedback. You also can reach out directly to us. Let me see, I'm going to put my email back in here, gjmerwin@capousd.org. You can email me directly as well if you have anything else you would like to share or any other information that you would want us to know about. So with that, then we are going to wrap up the evening. We appreciate your time. We know you're all very, very busy in your lives, and we appreciate you carving out time to join us this evening. So with that, thank you again. Thank you for your support, and we look forward to presenting this again to our board on May 17th, and your feedback and your questions will be incorporated into that work. So thank you, everybody. Have a great evening, and we're going to sign off. Take care.